I did have to share this little clip because I just had to repent and ask Abba to forgive me for not sharing what I was hearing, what I've been hearing last week, the week before, about gateway. And I was like, what do you mean? Kept talking about gateway, like a gateway drug. Well, obviously in the news, but the only reason I share this is because of the things that I heard in that Ruach about the spirit of molestation across the nation, every time with tribe and nation, and like every time we're tongue and across the nation. Just I was hearing that a lot in the Ruach about that and the spirit of molestation and across the nation. So what is happening at that church and the exposure of this and the Father unveiling these things and cleaning out his house and getting his house in order, this is not the end. Like, that's not the end of it. It's not just the beginning, but it's not the end of it. And so the Father is going to continue cleaning out his house. There will be things that will continue to be uncovered and things that will be continually exposed. And before, I was hearing about a silent majority, and I know that there are people in the community here where I am located that was considering themselves in that way. But there is also a reference to that of people who have gone through such things that are considered themselves a silent majority with regard to molestation in the church and just different things like that. And so when I kept hearing that, I was like a gateway drug. And the 5 witnesses was a confirmation to me as well. That was something that the Father was reminding me of. However, the point I say this is for those who seeking the Father and praying, and us keeping our focus towards the Father. It's a reminder for me of keeping a focus towards the Father, how he's moving, his word going forth, and knowing that Abba is still moving. Abba is cleaning his house. Abba is getting his house in order. Abba does have a purpose and a plan for his body and for his church. Abba is exposing certain things because for the sake of what? Getting things in order, bringing forth peace, bringing forth things into righteousness and his perfect love and his perfect desire. It is not so that people can be traumatized, like people who have gone through these things, but also so that it is a time of vindication. There is a time of his justice. There is a time of his right ruling. There is a time of when he says the reward of the wicked. He said that when he told me even where places and spaces, like, get out of the way, I'm moving, I'm working a miracle. So he's still working miracles. He's still vindicating his children. He's still bringing things into right order. He's still bringing things into right standing. He's vindicating. He said the reward of the wicked, only with your eyes will you see it. And we're watching it. He also said calamity. That calamity that will come to those who have done things against his people. So again, these are reminders that the Father keeps his word. There is an appointed time for the judgment. There is an appointed time for the war. There is an appointed time for the revealing, for the things that were hidden and the things that were in the dark to be revealed to the light, the secrets to be uncovered, for the sake of vindicating his people. I was also being constantly reminded of the blood that cries out in Abel, and I kept hearing also a lot about. And I originally thought that this thing had to do with the people who are doing like witchcraft and stuff. The dove ascending. And the Ruach ascending like a dove. And the reminder that the Father is opening and has opened heaven so he can do a pouring out of the Ruach. And the reason that is important is because he is bringing his family together. Saying the reason that is important is because Yahuah is uniting his bride, right? He's gathering his people back together. He's gathering his house. He's doing that. He's in the time. And when he had the time of judgment upon the earth, but also the judgment upon the house, he's also opened heavens to pour out. He's doing a move like Acts. When he says he's working a miracle and he's doing Acts, Ma'aseh, the acts where he pours out the Ruach, where he is going to be doing an outpouring where people are being able to receive deliverance, healing, freedom, the immersion of the name of the Son, the immersion of the Ruach, the immersion of the Ruach HaKodesh, to be able to become one with him, to be able to see that miracle signs and wonders in the Acts, that we saw in the book of Acts. He's establishing his Acts 2 assembly, his Acts 2 body, his Acts 2 family, his Acts 2 household, his Acts 2 people, his Acts 2, not just Acts 2, but like Acts, the book of Acts. He's establishing that within his people, within his house. He's bringing in and ushering in the rule of Elohim. And in order, there was the order. Order had to take place. His order had to be prevail for his rule to come in, for the Ruach to be able to dwell, for the miracles and signs and wonders, for his Ruach to pour forth from the Shemaim upon for the whole house, in the whole assembly in Acts 2. He's doing that. He's preparing his people in his move for that. And he's calling people, and he's been calling people, and they are to heed and accept the call. To heed and to accept the call of Elohim. He is preparing his Acts 2 bride, his house, the assembling, and great and mighty works to go forth upon the earth. He is doing that. There's a time of deliverance upon us, a time of healing upon us, a time of acts and miracle signs and wonder, a time of immersion of the Son, of Messiah, a time of the immersion of the Ruach, a time of, even, yes, if water baptism would take place, however, the immersion of the Ruach, the pouring forth and the outpouring of the gift of tongues, the outpouring of the Ruach. Open heaven, miracles, signs, and wonders, this appointed time, the work of the hands of his people, him sending out his Kodashim, the ones he has set apart to go 2 by 2, to go and to do different ministries, whether he called you to a food ministry, if he called you to a family ministry, if he called you to an adoption ministry, if he called you to an orphan ministry, if he called you to a widow's ministry, if he called you to serve tables, if he calls you to be a mouthpiece of Elohim, if he has called you to be one of the wild prophets of this time, if he has called you to walk in your sovereign authority, the authority from the Father given to you, whatever he has called you to do, created you for, and purposed and planned for you to do and set into you, he shall fulfill it in his proper time. Yes, the Father will fulfill in his proper time. And to those people who want to be like, oh, snitches get stitches and all of that, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, because Yah is vindicating. And not only that, those who were referring to the silent majority in a negative context, or whether you're doing it whether you're doing it in saying the silent majority of people who have been molested in their life, or been molested in the church, or been molested when they were a child, or been whatever it is, to the person that has said that and would say that, I mean, I've encountered many of people, and they've given first-hand testimony about their experiences. But to the other individual who will want somebody to fight for them or advocate for them, understand that the thing happened at Gateway took place, or the thing happened at Hillsong, or the thing happening probably even in your community, in churches you've known of the past, or not even in churches, the things that have taken place, the Father said, again, what is hidden than to be uncovered, and what is secret than to be revealed, and everything to its appointed time. People talk about love covers a multitude of sins. The Father has been having me hear and listen and encounter people sharing their testimonies virtually, in person, around the world, otherwise, at different points, at different times, at different seasons. And even this one, it reminding me of, like, not for the exploitation, but there was a young woman who was sharing about the things that she experienced in family, when she became very young, pregnant at a young age, things that happened to her sisters, them being separated, put in foster care, and just different things like that. And he was reminding me of the power of the testimony, but he was reminding me also the scripture verse that says, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and our word of our testimony. So when he said to me, a lot of people will be freed by my testimony, there's other people who will be freed by other people's testimonies, and sharing and saying that you're not alone, but also like that's not the end of you. I saw a man who was sharing his testimony, and he was like, the things that you went through before is not the end. It is not the end. It's not all there is to it. And there are many people like that young man where he was having me show it. He's in ministry now himself, and he explained all of the things that he went out throughout his life and how he got from where he was and the things that he believed into ministry now. Even those who shared their testimony from being in the pride community, and how they really come to realize that it was thoughts like how the adversary did to Adam, to Eve in the garden, or how the adversary did try to switch and twist up the word to Messiah, but Messiah knew the word, so he couldn't deceive him with a lie. Or how some of these programs try to be enforced and put within legislation, if you're in the United States or in other countries, or within educational systems and different things like that, but understanding what you do in exposure. When exposure to certain things that wasn't intended or wasn't the way and order of the Father occurs, and his way of the word of how we navigate through those things, how healing comes, how deliverance comes. Again, it also goes back to the spirits that he said, the spirits of the lunatics, spirits of barrenness, the things in regards to the family of the household of belief, the things in regards to sexual immoralities, the things in regards to lying, stealing, adultery, fornication, how those impact generations and generations and generations, and how the Father has come to transform that. As he did in Mitzrayim, so he is doing now. As he took the people he took them into a good place. And then the good way was forgotten for a time. And they were going in a way of destruction. But the Father wants to bring us from out of the ways of the world's destruction, from out of Mitzrayim, from out of Babylon, from out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and into his rule and his reign. And it's a time that we can heed and answer this call, allow him and be a partaker in the Father cleaning up his house, and the partaker of the Father bringing forth healing, bringing forth transformation for generations, to the 1,000th generation. Choose to be with the Father. Peace and blessings, Father, you have your way. In Yahushua Mashiach, shalom and blessings to everyone out there. Abba, do what only you can do, and everyone be blessed. I did have to